Good afternoon. Today's the 25th of October, and it's the day which a lot of us hoped wouldn't come, but has. Today is the expanded Ultra Low Emission Zone in London. Let's have a chat about that, shall we? One of the first videos that was ever on this channel, which is about 3 years ago, was talking about the London Ultra Low Emission Zone. And at the time, it didn't actually exist. It was just something that was rumoured by the Mayor of London to be brought in 2019 and 2021. The video actually, for the size of the channel at the time, was reasonably successful. I lived in Epsom in Surrey from 2007 until 2019, and that was a very relevant thing at the time because of the profession that I have, which is to source vehicles to private clients. From the announcement of the zone in early 2017, it did start to affect me. The car which I had, which was a 2014 car with a forbidden fuel diesel engine, actually was non-compliant with the Ultra Low Emission Zone, which is crazy. You know, you realise that the car at 3 years old suddenly doesn't comply with the legislation which is coming in within the next couple of years, and it started to lose lots of value, and so I had to get rid of it. Bizarrely, this 2003 Rover 45 V6 I'm sitting in, which is the car that I have now, is actually compliant with the Ultra Low Emission Zone. Can you believe that? It's 11 years older. It has about double the emissions, and yet one of them is compliant with the zone and the other one isn't. And it's not the one you'd imagine. So in 2019, the Ultra Low Emission Zone came in, and it was the same size as the congestion charge zone. And the congestion charge zone at the time didn't operate 24/7 like it does now. But people were being sort of double charged. They were being charged for the Ultra Low Emission Zone and also for the congestion charge. It was always the plan, though, to expand the Ultra Low Emission Zone in London, and we're not talking about the clean air zone and Ultra Low Emission Zones in other places. Today, there's one that's coming in Portsmouth next month. There's one that's operating in Birmingham now. There's one operating in Bath. Rumoured introduction places like Manchester and Bristol and things like that. We're just talking about London today. We can obviously talk about the other ones of these another time, and I have already done that. But what I've seen, and actually yesterday I was contacted by a friend who knew someone who has again fallen foul of this, is that people suddenly have woken up to this. It's been about 4 years coming, this, and suddenly people have realised that their cars aren't compliant, and it's £12.50 a day to actually go about their normal business. I don't think you get a discount if you're a resident at all. If your car doesn't move, obviously you don't pay, but whole areas like, I don't know, Wandsworth and sort of Ealing and places like that, they're all very much affected by this. So which vehicles are actually affected by the Ultra Low Emission Zone? Well, it's sometimes difficult to say. If you have a car that's before 1981, then you can actually get that exempt. It's very strange. You think that, you know, really old cars would never do that, but if you have a car before 1981, it's actually exempt from the Ultra Low Emission Zone. And one of the things at the London Classic Car Show I attended in June was people sort of selling cars there before 1980 saying Ultra Low Emission Zone exempt, and they are. But the main things you need to know are that if you have what I call a forbidden fuel car, because we don't talk about diesels on the channel, and the Ultra Low Emission Zone is one of the reasons why we don't, you've got to make sure it's a Euro 6 or later engine. And those really only started to come in from about 2015 onwards. The law was that they had to be, after September 2015, all of those engines had to be Euro 6 compliant. And if your car or van is not Euro 6 compliant, if it's got a forbidden fuel engine, then that's it. You're paying £12.50 a day to enter the zone, the newly expanded one, which has a boundary of a north and south circular roads. Up until today, it was just the old congestion charge zone. And that's a much smaller thing. It was a sort of tiny little zone 1 type area. So this is a huge, huge thing. My cousin actually moved out of the area where he was living, which was into Acton, because of this, because he had various cars which weren't compliant. I've got a friend whose job seems to be solely to go around these sort of areas and leave notes on car windscreens that he knows aren't compliant. So talk a lot about the forbidden fuel cars and things like that. Talk about some petrol cars and, you know, non-classic ones. So if you've got a petrol car between 1981 and about 2006, then we've got some problems. You're paying £12.50 a day, pretty much up until about the year 2000, 2001. You need a Euro 4 compliant engine. Now, Euro 4 compliant engines started to come in from about 2001, 2002. The Rover I'm sitting in is actually a 2003, and it has a Euro 4 compliant engine. So if your car's between about 2001 and 2006, it's a petrol. You might find that it is, you might find that it isn't. It's sort of case-by-case basis. But all cars sold in the European Union, which we were in at the time, with a petrol engine, after 1st January 2006, had to be Euro 4 compliant. So that's really the kind of cut-off. And most of the work that I still do with people is with Euro 4 compliant petrols. So if you've got a Euro 6 compliant diesel forbidden fuel car, or a Euro 4 compliant petrol car, or a really old one before 1981, then that's fine. Every other car you're paying £12.50 a day. And that's really sort of all there is to it. There are people who can get discounts on it. There are sort of electric cars are sort of fine with this kind of thing. Some of the hybrids and things are actually congestion charge exempt as well. But it is a big change for a lot of people to know that their cars just are almost valueless. And with the second-hand car prices at the moment being extremely high in this country, it can cost a lot of money to change, particularly in London. So, I mean, I'm probably doing a job for somebody who's got a 2006 BMW 318D, and the D, unfortunately, is bad, because that means that it's £12.50 a day wherever he goes anywhere, because he lives southwest London. But this is going to be happening all over the place. It's already happened in Birmingham. It's happening in all sorts of cities around. And this is just the way it is. If you've got a sort of classic and something that just kind of sits around and doesn't really get used, then this isn't going to affect you so much, and you just stay out of North and South Circular in London, or wherever it is in Birmingham, which I think is called the Middleway, which is the area that it is. But if people want to use an older car every day, it's a bit tough. There are cars getting scrapped because of this all the time. Whether you think this is a good or bad thing, I've had a look at this, and some people think this isn't going far enough. They say that actually this should be extended to the entirety of London. I know there's a weird thing in Heathrow Airport going on at the moment where people have to pay some kind of charge if the car's not sort of compliant for entering a particular zone around it. So I think we're going to see a lot of more electric cars being used within this boundary, and the value of cars which have to pay £12.50 a day is really going to start falling. Anyway, I think that's really enough for now. I don't really have much more to add other than what I've already said over the past 3 years, but by all means, like this video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We'll probably be touching on this again if this is the sort of thing you want to hear about. And yes, I'm very grateful to everybody who keeps watching these sort of things where I talk about you know, emissions and E10 and that sort of thing. But yes, thank you very much indeed for bearing with me. I was going to go and film this video actually on the boundary of Ultra Low Emission Zone, but I've been unwell over the last few weeks, and so it didn't happen. But hopefully this is something of use to you, and we'll be back again in a couple of days.